Just because they're babies doesn't mean that they have to eat bland food. Welcome to the Bum's cooking series, Baby Bites. I'm Jess Tom, and you might know me from Food Network or the Bum's Nursery series, but my most important job is being Jake's mom. My goal is to introduce healthy and nutritious meals, introduce new flavors and ingredients, and share one of my greatest loves, food, with my other greatest love, you. So today we're going to be traveling to India and making a dish called Khichdi. Khichdi is a common comfort food, not only for adults, but also for babies. So the great thing about Khichdi is that it doesn't need that much adaptation. It's already so good for babies because it's already mushy and mild and easy to digest. So the first thing I did is I took down the spice level a little bit. One important thing to consider is that just because they're babies doesn't mean that they have to eat bland food. We can introduce other ingredients, and spice is a great way to do that without adding a lot of fat or sugar or salt. You're adding a lot of flavor. I do definitely want to introduce, garlic and ginger and cumin and turmeric, but we don't need to go from 0 to 100 in one meal. The second thing that I did is that I have a higher ratio of rice to lentils. And that's so he can sort of get used to this flavor, get used to this texture and taste. But as he gets older and he gets used to this dish, then I'll increase the ratio of lentils to rice. Another thing I did is that I added grated vegetables. And so that adds extra nutrition, and it also lightens up the dish a little bit. So Jake feeds himself, and he can get really messy. Food gets on the floor, it gets on the rug, gets on his hands, gets on his clothes. And so as we know, turmeric stains. And so sometimes when I'm feeling ambitious, I'll put a little bit of turmeric in, but otherwise I'll leave it out altogether. And last, since Jake feeds himself, I like to have a consistency that's a little thicker so it can fit on a spoon. And so I add a little bit less water. But if you want a consistency that's a little soupier, then you can feel free to add more water. So typically, Khichdi is made with lentils, rice, and spices. It can be made with lots of different types of lentils, but the most common type is Moong Dahl, or split mung beans. I have white rice. I have cumin, ginger, turmeric, garlic, ghee, and here I have zucchini, but you can use any sort of grated vegetable that you have around, like carrots or sweet potato, or even something like broccoli. So I have 1 part Moong Dahl to 3 parts rice. Let that soak for at least 20 minutes or up to 2 hours. That helps break them down a little bit so they can cook a little faster. Everything cooks really quickly, so you'll want to prepare everything now. First, I'll grate some ginger, add a pinch of turmeric, and my ground cumin. And then we have our garlic. This will cook second. When you're ready to cook, first melt your ghee, and then add your turmeric, ginger, and cumin. You want to do a method that's called tempering, which is using the fat of the ghee to let those aromatics bloom and blossom and live up to all of their flavor potential. That only takes about 15 seconds before it burns, so you have to watch it really, really fast. Next, I'll add my zucchini and garlic. Saute that for about a minute. And then you'll add water, a little more if you want it a little soupier, a little less if you want it more porridge-like, and then add your drained Moong Dahl and white rice. Simmer it on low until you've reached the consistency that you've liked. This is how I like it. It's soft, it's mushy, so you could put this in the blender to mash it up a little more, or you could save yourself the wash and just mash it up with a spoon or a potato masher. Let it cool, and then you're ready to serve. This is cooled off a bit. Let's see how Jake likes Khichdi. Okay, sweetie, here it is. Time for you to give it a try. This is your Khichdi. What do you think? Thanks for watching. I hope you and your baby get to try this amazing dish. For seconds, be sure to check out the rest of the Baby Bites series on The Bump.